Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be talking about some of the biggest roster battles for the Washington football team heading into their second preseason games. I'll be talking about if they'll keep 3 or 4 tight ends, how many receivers will they keep, and will Sammis Reyes or Jaret Patterson be able to make this roster. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. I'm super close to 6,000 subscribers. So please help me get there. Also hit that like button. It helps out a ton. So let's get right into the video. So overall, I think that most of the roster spots on the Washington football team are decided, but there are still definitely a lot of questions that we have, like who's going to be the punt returner and kick returner, some of those last cornerback slash safety spots, and, some of the other positions that we talked about first. So, first we'll talk about, the tight end battle. I think that's an underrated battle right there because we know they're going to likely keep 3. There's a possibility that they keep 4 if they really want to keep Reyes, but I think they will keep 3 tight ends, and we know that Logan Thomas is a clear-cut tight end 1, and then after that Bates is a lock to make the roster because they drafted him in the 4th round, and he's been solid through training camp and his first preseason game. So those two are going to make it, and I think that last spot is going to be a competition between Ricky Seals-Jones, Sammis Reyes, and even Tamarick Hemingway. Even though he had a bad game in his first preseason game, he's still in the running for that spot, but I do think it'll come down to Ricky Seals-Jones and Sammis Reyes, and we do have a quick injury update on Sammis Reyes, who did get injured in one of these last practices. He will be out for Washington's preseason game against the Bengals, which is bad news. He's out with a concussion, or he's in concussion protocol, so that's unfortunate because he needs all the reps he can get. And he's been getting, he's improving every single week, every single day, the more reps he gets, and now he's not even able to practice. He's just on the bike getting his cardio up. So that is really unfortunate, and that really hurts him, with his chances of making this roster. And I think now it puts, possibly Ricky Seals-Jones as the front runner to be the 3rd tight end, really depending on how long Sammis Reyes is out. If he's only out for a few days or a week and he's able to play the next preseason game, then I think he still has a chance to make this roster. But if not, then I don't know if he's going to be able to make it, and maybe Washington is able to put him on IR or something so that they can, have control over him for a full another year. That's definitely a possibility right there. But that's an underrated, tight end, or that's an underrated roster battle right there, the tight end room. And, another thing they could do is, keep Logan Thomas, keep John Bates, and then after that, sign a veteran that another team cuts that they like. That's another possibility right there. So another roster battle that, everyone has talked about even before preseason, and this has been the receiver battle. I mean, we already know that Kelvin Harmon has been cut, but Washington, we know the 5, pretty much roster locks: Terry McLaurin, De'Ami Brown, Curtis Samuel, Adam Humphries, and Cam Sims. All those guys, if they're healthy, they will make the team. But after that, we don't know who's going to be that 6th receiver, and maybe possibly 7th if they do indeed keep 7 receivers. So the players that are in the running for that 6th receiver spot, or maybe even 7th if they do keep 7 receivers, are AGG, Dax Milne, DeAndre Carter, and Steven Sims. I feel like those guys are all battling for a receiver spot, and Isaiah Wright and Tony Brown, they're obviously also battling, but I don't think they have a realistic shot of making the 53-man roster. Maybe, though, Isaiah Wright could make the practice squad. I think that's a possibility, and maybe Tony Brown as well, but it's going to be really interesting. All these players bring something to the table on special teams, and you might say AGG's not a returner. He's not a returner, but he does get reps with the special teams unit, sometimes with the first team, sometimes with the second team, but he does get some reps on special teams. DeAndre Carter, Dax Milne, and Steven Sims are all returners, although we all know Steven Sims, we do not want him out there returning punts. I'm fine with him, being our kick returner, but punt returner, no. So, DeAndre Carter and Dax Milne are battling it out for, a punt returner spot. And, another thing that they could do, let's say they want to keep AGG, they really like what he can do, they can have DeAndre Carter or Dax Milne on the practice squad and call him up for game days if, Dax Milne does make it to the practice squad. Because here's the thing, if you're keeping 6 receivers or even 7, one, maybe 2 of them are going to be inactive on game days. So, I mean, like if you keep 6, DeAndre Carter's your 6th, it's going to be hard to, you're going to have to put another player at another position at the inactive spot because, usually you don't have 6 receivers active, but if you do, keep DeAndre Carter as your 6th receiver, then you're going to have to do that because, DeAndre Carter doesn't really add much. He's not much of a threat as a receiver. He's, just a good punt returner and kick returner. Steven Sims, on the other hand, is a threat as a receiver and, can return some kicks and punts, although we don't really want him to be returning punts. He had 4 fumbles last year as a punt returner. One, was, taken back for a touchdown. Here's a clip of AGG today or a couple days ago in practice against William Jackson, beats him out there. So, AGG, what you could do with him is if he does make the roster, you'll probably just have him inactive until, he starts to develop. Same thing with some of these other guys. Dax Milne, you want to, keep around, and I don't know if they can keep him on the practice squad because some other teams might try to pick him up, especially if he continues to have some good days in preseason. If he continues to put out some, good tape out there, then some team is going to claim him to their 53-man roster, and Washington is going to lose him. And maybe that's the Jets because they have Zach Wilson, and keeping him or adding, Dax Milne to their roster would probably help Zach Wilson out a little bit. So, a couple more roster battles. Obviously, the running back room is, still interesting. I think they will keep Gibson, McKissick, and Barber. They really like Barber, even though I think that, he definitely is a great third down back, a short yardage back. And on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, he comes up clutch a bunch of times. But I feel like Gibson can do a lot of what Barber can do, especially last year he had a bunch of touchdowns in, right at the goal line, and he's able to, score on those short yardage situations. And I know Barber was great at it last year, especially on those 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1s. And, that he came up, big for us a bunch of times. But I feel like Gibson can do a lot of what he can do. And Barber did lose some weight, so who knows, about 10 pounds. So who knows if he can really still do that. He probably can, but, who knows? I think they will keep those 3, and I think Patterson has definitely a good chance to make the roster because they just don't want to lose someone like him. And what I think could be a possibility is they keep all 4, and maybe for the first year they keep Patterson inactive mostly on game days unless someone gets injured because, it's really, he's not going to be adding that much to, the table if they keep Gibson, McKissick, and Barber, because I feel like, what Washington wants him to do is very similar to what McKissick does. So I feel like once McKissick is gone after this year is when they really can unleash Jaret Patterson, but I just don't think he'll make it to the practice squad if you release him. So I do think Washington should keep him. And, I think also he's a great insurance policy if someone does go down. If McKissick goes down, he can do a lot of what McKissick can do. Obviously not as good of a route runner, but he can still catch some passes. He's a threat in the receiving game, but he's a better runner in my opinion. If Gibson goes down, Patterson can also take, over some of the workload right there. So kind of the last couple of roster battles, in my opinion, are kind of like the cornerbacks. I think that is going to be interesting. Who is their last corner that they keep? Does Danny Johnson make it? He's had a good camp. Does, Torrey McTyer, is he the one who makes it? Daryl Roberts, Troy Apke. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that could make it as that last, those last couple corners, depending on how many they keep. Because we know the first 4, William Jackson, Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St. Juste, and Jimmy Moreland. But after that, I mean, do they keep 5? Do they keep 6? And, is Troy Apke going to make it? I hope not, but he might just make it because of his special teams. Troy McTyer has had a good camp. I think Danny Johnson has a good shot making it because he's a solid kick returner, and he's been making a bunch of plays in camp and made the roster last year. He's had a few interceptions so far in camp, so I think he has a good shot of making this roster because he's a threat in the return game, and he also can do a little bit as a punt returner as well, and has been solid on defense this year or this offseason for us. And also the safety position. How many safeties do they keep? Because they have 5 solid safeties at the moment. Derek Forrest isn't there yet, but he's a rookie, and I don't know if they want to move on from him at this time. So it's really, we know Cameron Curl and Landon Collins are going to make it, and I assume Bobby McCain also. So DeShazier Everett and Jeremy Reeves are really battling it out because it's hard to keep 5 safeties. Maybe they do that, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to do that, and they might have to cut one of those guys, or they could keep 5 safeties and keep 5 cornerbacks because, Bobby McCain can also play in the slot as well. So those are kind of the biggest roster battles that, I talked about today, heading into the preseason, your second preseason game. Let me know what you guys think about the roster battles and who you think will make the roster at those battles. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those post notifications so you never miss a video. Peace.